This shit at Twitter has been absolutely insane to watch go down over the last couple days, especially because Elon Musk, in collaboration with Matt Taibbi and Bari Weiss, just released the bombshell Twitter files. Like, let's expose how censorious and authoritarian the previous regime at Twitter really was. And they drop all this information, some of which was pretty interesting and compelling, and certainly, you know, newsworthy, in my opinion, no doubt about it. But it's just very funny that after they made such a stink about this bombshell story detailing the censorship that was commonplace in the previous regime, just days after that, Elon Musk totally decides to undermine the intended effect of that story by becoming even more fucking censorious, by imposing even more censorship than that of the previous regime. So much so that I think that the previous regime now looks downright fucking reasonable in comparison. Let's take a quick look here at this. Actually, fuck CNN. I want to pull up the AP article. I prefer the layout on AP. It's something about the CNN.
Also, the ads.
The ads are horrible. Yeah, at least CNN allows you to ad block, though. Whenever I try to pull up a fucking Fox News article on here, they won't even let me ad block. So that's really annoying. But anyway, yeah, here's a nice clean layout. Shout out to the graphic design team at the AP. Anyway, Twitter suspends journalists who wrote about owner Elon Musk. Yeah, so let's check this out. Twitter on Thursday suspended the accounts of journalists who cover the social media platform and its new owner, Elon Musk, among them reporters working for the New York Times, Washington Post, CNN, Voice of America, and other publications. And I actually have a list here of at least some of the people that were banned. The Elon Jet account, Jack Sweeney, who ran the Elon Jet account, Mastodon, the competitor social media, IGD News, Aaron Rupar, Donnie O'Sullivan from CNN, Drew Harwell from Washington Post, Matt Binder from like the fucking Majority Report, Ryan Mack, the New York Times, Micah Lee, the Intercept, and fucking Keith Olbermann. Keith Olbermann. We're talking about like normie ass libs here. We're not talking about like some fucking far left, Antifa bullshit, like something that you could potentially come up with a justification for banning, like, oh, they were promoting violence or they were calling for the genocide of the bourgeois or like nothing like that. We're talking about normie ass libs. We're talking about fucking Keith Olbermann. And let's keep reading so we can find out about the justification for these bans. Or lack thereof. It says the company hasn't explained to the journalists why it took down the accounts and made their profiles and past tweets disappear. But Musk took to Twitter on Thursday night to accuse journalists of sharing private information about his whereabouts that he described as basically assassination coordinates. What a dramatic little fucker. What, he's so extra, bro.
Snowflake.
Assassination coordinates. Shut the fuck up. All that this Elon Jet account, which tracked Elon Musk's private jet, all it did was post information that was already public and has already been ruled as First Amendment protected free speech. It's not doxing. This is information that's already fucking out there. Assassination coordinates, LOL. So then he bans the account that was tracking his jet after providing no evidence for that claim, but then also bans a handful of journalists for just talking about it. Like, I guess you could justify the just banning the account for the jet on these grounds if you're really gonna, make that your case about the doxing. Obviously, that's not a legitimate justification to ban that account, but at least there's a logical through line there. But then to just start banning all of these random journalists on the left because they reported on you banning that account and talked about this information. Absolute fucking madness. One of the flimsiest possible excuses for just an utterly tyrannical terror of censorship and this mass banning of your own critics.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm surprised that we're seeing so much pushback from the chat a little bit. A lot of people are saying that this is definitely doxing and that this is a violation of his rights. But the conservative ass Supreme Court, right? The people who have basically stood in the way of making any firm decisions that protect our right to privacy, right? They let the Patriot Act happen without striking it down, right? They let all these massive violations to our ability to live with privacy. This is the same Supreme Court we're talking about. Okay. They've ruled that you are allowed to fucking publish that shit. That is literally, Gavin. We just laid that out. That it is already ruled that that is free speech. So hard to bark up the I'm gonna be the free speech guy and then ban somebody from the platform for practicing what meets the undisputed legal definition of free speech in this country. For one, two, I saw a hilarious tweet that I think I should share now. It was like the great and quick, easy solution to Elon's problem here. He gets to, keep his word and not ban the Elon Jets account, but he also gets to fly a little bit more with some privacy. He could just take a commercial airline. He could just not fly privately and destroy the fucking planet with all of his like fucking private jet things, right? It was like I saw a tweet. It was like, I stand with Elon on this issue. Let's just ban private jets. Like, you know what I mean? Let's just force everybody that wants to fly commercially. Yeah.
Here we go. Because we got Bari Weiss weighing in on this. Bari Weiss was, of course, one of the two journalists alongside Matt Taibbi, who Elon Musk selected to release the bombshell explosive Twitter files story. Yeah, and Bari Weiss herself, now mere days after releasing this information and collaborating with Elon Musk himself, tweeted this. She says, the old regime at Twitter governed by its own whims and biases, and sure looks like the new regime has the same problem. I oppose it in both cases. And I think those journalists who were reporting on a story of public importance should be reinstated. So that's pretty strong language. I mean, she's being diplomatic about it. She's a fucking professional journalist or whatever. But she's in no uncertain terms coming out here and saying like, oh yeah, that guy who I was literally just collaborating with 2 days ago to release a story about how authoritarian and censorious the previous regime at Twitter was. Oh yeah, that guy. I oppose his regime now as well, and their censorious tendencies as well. It's basically the same fucking thing that I just helped to expose.
Yeah, dude. Elon's starting five is walking out, dude. This is insane. This is bad for his rep. I mean, he's fucked. His goose is getting cooked, man. If Glenn is starting to leave, these were people who believed in him. I never believed in him because he was a billionaire, and I always got bad vibes from the guy. I'll be it because he was the richest man in the world, and I didn't think that was a super hard calculation to make, that, oh, hey, maybe this super rich guy isn't looking out for our best interest. But a lot of people tried to give him the benefit of the doubt for whatever reason. People like Bari Weiss, people like Glenn, and now they're like, bro, what the fuck are you doing? You're making it impossible for us to think the best of you. You are making it so fucking impossible for you to be coming across as like the free speech guy right now that we have to leave, or our brand will be permanently tarnished. Also, we just disagree with you now. You know what I mean? Like, I think that it is I think it's insane to watch just the self-immolation and what kind of repercussions that's having, that even the people who were willing to go to bat with him, right? Like, he was like, how can I pick the most sympathetic reporter possible in Bari Weiss to help unload the Twitter files mere days ago, and now she's like, no, not me.
Yeah. And honestly, I'm waiting for Matt Taibbi to put out a similar statement. I haven't seen anything from Matt Taibbi. But if I was him, I'd be embarrassed as fuck right now, to be completely honest, to have been collaborating with Elon Musk under the guise of like, oh, we're working together to expose the censorious nature of the previous Twitter regime, only now to become a participant in it, or a collaborator of the dude in charge, who is now doubling down and making the platform even fucking worse than what you're working to expose. Like, what the fuck, bro? This is insane. And Bari Weiss clearly, feels some of that, because she felt compelled to put out that tweet. And hilariously, Elon Musk started fucking groveling and being like, here, I'll show you guys this one. He replied like 3 times to her tweet, increasingly desperate fashion. So there's the original tweet. She says, I oppose the censorship in this new regime. It goes on a bit of a tear here. And then he says, what should be the consequences of doxing someone's real-time exact location? Assume your child is at that location, as mine was, which isn't even fucking true, we can get into that a little bit later, but that's not true. And he says, Bari, this is a real question, not rhetorical. What is your opinion? Rather than rigorously pursuing truth, you are virtue signaling to show that you are quote unquote good in the eyes of the media elite to keep one foot in both worlds. So this woman who he just decided was a worthy fucking receptacle for his bombshell Twitter files, and was like, oh, she's an independent, free thinking, journalist who will take this seriously, and I trust her to release these files. Now he's coming out here and calling her a virtue signaler, is just coming out here and signaling her virtue rather than pursuing truth, even though she's just stating the obvious fact that what he's doing is just as censorious, if not more, than the previous regime, which they just worked together to expose.
100%. And honestly, this is the most Elon Musk fucking just mauling response ever. It was like when he was groveling to Stephen King and trying to get Stephen King to win back over, but even worse, because as you pointed out, he literally just hand selected Bari Weiss to be like we were pointing this out earlier, like anything that would be a fair criticism of Matt Taibbi in that situation would be like, you could speculate why Elon Musk decided to pick the guy, but any reporter is going to take that information. And why did he pick Bari Weiss? And is it because those people had been sympathetic to his plight or his like cause of like freeing, liberating Twitter from the censorship of the libs? You know what I mean? That was going to be their rallying cry together. And then just days later, after he's like having some tantrum about somebody, who he'd personally said in the past he was going to do nothing about, he was like, oh yeah, I support this because that's still free speech. He's like, okay, no, he's going to just go full renegade, ban whomever he wants because he feels so strongly about it. But then he's going to still simp to this lady. And it just shows you guys if the desperation, the groveling, like if I needed to present a better argument that our economy is super rigged and that you don't become the richest man in the world. Now he's the second richest man in the world because he's imploded fucking Tesla along with Twitter over the past couple of months. Seriously, guys, just Google the Tesla stock index. It's down, terrible, trash, bad, horrible, sad. But anyway, so to think that guy somehow is the smartest guy in the room or the most stable guy in the room or the guy that deserves to have fucking hundreds of billions of dollars in wealth is absolutely absurd, because he's literally crying to the most sympathetic journalist about him about why he's not like a massive hypocrite, and as Gavin pointed out, lying about his child. Like, this man has no morals, he has no ethical compass. The only this should be a learning curve for any of these journalists that thought that Elon was actually going to seriously change Twitter. Like, the capitalist system, the pursuit of profit, and all of these kinds of things will never allow for a uniform First Amendment, by the book approach to a website like that. It's always going to have a maniacal leader, somebody that owns it and it's theirs and it's a private company and blah, 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 regardless of what they're saying rhetorically. So now even the most loyal villagers are starting to revolt.
And yeah, the last note I wanted to make on the Elon Musk Twitter story is just to throw up this tweet by Sagar and Jetty, someone who is on the right and who has been pretty charitable to Elon Musk, at least in the beginning of this whole Twitter takeover. He seemed like he thought it was a good idea. He defended Elon Musk and like, let's give this guy a chance. Yet another person who should be an ally to Elon Musk's intentions is out here being like, this is straight bullshit. He says flight data is publicly available from the FAA and has survived court challenge. It is within the obvious bounds of the First Amendment. The consequences of free speech are not always as fun as any public person, including myself, can attest to. And yet that is why it is important to defend. And then he goes on to post this receipt. If you're quibbling with my definition of free speech and whether this should be included, I simply point you in the direction of someone who once included it in theirs. Damn. Elon Musk tweet from November 6th saying, my commitment to free speech extends even to not banning the account following my plane, even though it is a direct personal safety risk. So just a shameless fucking hack, Elon Musk. No actual no regard whatsoever for the First Amendment. Any claims he made about caring about free speech were total bullshit. What this reminds me of is like when a fucking like populist politician takes over some country, promising that they're going to make everything better, promising that they're going to make the country more democratic, and then like 2 days into office they like fire all their critics, lock up all of their opponents, and just go full dictator. That's basically what Elon Musk has done here.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe he was bankrolled by the American government. He was in the form of countless subsidies throughout his career, after all. But yeah, great point by Sagar, who again is a conservative, is a guy that, he's not an anti-capitalist. He comes at this from a completely different perspective than us, but and he is a pretty pro free speech guy. So yeah, good for him to point that out. And yeah, he had the nuts on Elon in that one with I vaguely remember that tweet, but I did not go back in time and pull it. So always good to see the receipts.